Hello, my name is Evan Melsna, and today I will be talking about solid-state drives, or SSDs, in my mechanism description presentation. The function of all hard drives from the beginning of computers is to allow people to store data permanently and then be able to retrieve it at a later date, even after power loss. Many types of computer components do not allow data retrieval after power loss, so that's why the hard drive was invented. Now that we live in an era of technology that is becoming more and more inclusive, we need to be able to store more and more of our vast amounts of hard drive, from personal data with movies, pictures, and songs, to companies that need to store all of their financial records, sales, and all of that information so they can use that for sales analytics to try and predict future economic turns. The way that data has been stored for the last several years is on solid-state drives, but before that there were the regular hard drives. Regular hard drives were something like this, where they consist of an actuator arm, a platter, and a read-write head. The information is stored on the platter, and the read-write head will read the information as the platter spins. This was the way data has been stored for a really long time, using magnetic fields. The waiting for the platter to spin was the thing that caused the slowness in a traditional hard drive like this. The other big downside with a hard drive like this is that any kind of damage could cause the platter to shift, and a shift in the platter would cause it to touch the head, because the head is only a few molecules away from the platter, and this could cause damage to the platter and make the drive completely unreadable. This is the biggest problem with a standard hard drive. We have since moved over to something a little bit more sophisticated in recent years for an SSD. The SSD is printed on just a normal looking circuit board like you'd see on a motherboard, and it has these components in it, which I will get to a more detailed list. But the main advantage of an SSD is that there are no moving parts. The lack of moving parts means that the drive itself can take more physical damage from being dropped in, like, let's say, a laptop, or even in transportation that doesn't need to be as securely held down as a normal standard hard drive. The SSD is only a couple inches wide, about 4 inches wide, and it's only about 4 or 5 inches long, and it's less than an inch tall. They are traditionally inside of a metal or plastic container that allows them to easily give off the heat that they produce. A big advantage of an SSD is that they don't give off as much heat as these traditional hard drives did. The SSD is superior in many ways because of its speed. Since there's no moving parts, you don't have to wait for anything to be read off of the drive. Everything is there almost instantly. They are many times faster than the traditional hard drive. And as I cut away here, you'll see that I have a more detailed picture of the internal components of an SSD. This picture is made by Thomas Rant, and it basically is just a breakdown of all the components that allow the entire SSD to function. Towards the top there, you'll see the SATA controller. This is the connector that would allow you, that puts information out to the wires that basically take the power and the data from the SSD to the laptop. This is the exact same type of connection that you would find in a normal hard drive, so they are both compatible with each other. So a simple upgrade would be just that. It would be simple, and you wouldn't have to purchase a whole new motherboard or anything like that. On the center of the device, you'll see the processor. The processor acts just like the processor inside the main computer. The processor basically consists of the internal logic, where the monitors the energy levels, the data flow, the heat, and anything else that an SSD would require to be on and functioning properly. Around the outside there, you'll see that there's the chip configuration, which is basically just the style of SSD it is, and how, like, that one is numbered against another one. You'll see the general I/O, which is basically just, to deal with power and stuff like that. The flash controllers are along the back side of the drive, but there are usually more than just 3 of them on the inside of an SSD. They are basically where the data is stored, and data is retrieved in these when power is run through the controllers, they will raise electrons that float, and a floating electron would basically help contribute the ones and zeros that a hard drive runs off of. Above those, you'll see the error correction. So the error correction code is basically a code that runs when data is moved throughout the hard drive to the computer. When you're moving many small files, it is not uncommon for one of them to get confused or misplaced in some way, and this could cause a file to no longer work because it's missing 1% of whatever it needs. The error correction code helps make sure that files are bundled and packaged correctly before they are sent out of the drive. To the left there, you'll see the DRAM controller, which is basically just some of the internal memory of the SSD, and then the RAM EPROM is also the same thing. And I just wanted to say thank you again to Thomas Rant for this picture. It was actually very helpful in trying to describe what is going on in this file. And as I cut back here, I'd just like to say in closing that the SSDs have been a revolutionary in the market for both personal computers for personal builds at home, and they have made a huge difference in servers. Servers are now able to put multiple SSDs in the space that took up one hard drive. This allows for them to actually use big data more and study market trends and try and predict upcoming turns so that they can try and get ahead of the competition. So SSDs are likely here to stay for a long while now because of their speed, and now that their price is coming down, their efficiency for just about everyone. This is Evan with my mechanism description presentation. Thank you for watching.